that's one of the things that's happening. We're seeing record companies saying, okay, we got our regular record company, but now we got an a la carte record company over here.
Right.
You want to hire, our promotions company, you can hire them. You want to hire, you can do it.
That's publishing.
They're doing the same thing.
I self-publish as recently as 5-10 years ago. Probably very difficult to do, to get into, and I self-published my first 2 books. Most likely I will self-publish the novel that I'm writing now. But what it does, to your point about a la carte, I write it, I edit it, I do the artwork for the jackets. Everything is done by me. I can farm out as much as I want or as little as I want. I can retain as much control as I like, make as many royalties as I want, but I've got to do my own marketing. My books are on Amazon automatically. My books are, and because of the distribution channels I selected and paid for, it's on BarnesandNoble.com. But until I reach a certain sales threshold, those books will not appear in print in a brick and mortar store. They will be print on demand. And that's where I was thinking that music might go, is where you can get as many guys as you want in the studio at a time, do as much as you want, and then a la carte with a music publisher, then you get your stuff out, CD on demand, and as many want to buy it can buy it.
So we're kind of leading into the idea stage of this, and this is really where I wanted to go, because that's one particular idea. There's another idea video here that I have that I wanted to play also, but it's kind of sketchy in terms of whether it's going to work or not. I had an idea of actually 2 ideas. One, combining books with recording artists. So in other words, when you buy the book, you get both. So in other words, if you're buying like a romance novel, with a certain artist that may have music that might match that particular book, and so now you sell it as a package deal, because you got authors who are having problems, you got musicians who are having problems. So now what you do is
crazy. I'm actually working on a project like that.
See, and then there was another idea that I had about, and I don't know if that'll work or not, but there's another idea I had about taking, because everybody hears sports and entertainment. Well, why not, since we've got so many artists who are now out there on television competing, okay, why don't we take the sports business model and apply it to the music business? So now the Chicago Bulls signed a Michael Jordan. Okay, they pay him a certain amount of money. He goes all over the country performing. Okay,
yeah, essentially,
essentially that's what he's doing. Okay, so you got another company that's over here that may hire. Now, mind you, now you got one Michael Jordan. He's making money. Why? Because he's attracting the people. Okay, you got Scotty, you got BJ and all them, but Mike getting that money because Mike's filling the seats the same way LeBron James is today. Okay, so if you've got a team of artists, and you may have some sort of competitive thing going on with, say 2 different camps or whatever, but the whole thing is that competition is already out there through The Voice, through what's the other one? American Idol, and all this other kind of stuff. And then we're not even talking about on a local level where you see it all the time. Through showcases. Who's this, who's that. So I thought about it. I said, man, there might be something there that can be messed with and tweaked, where you start to bring that element together. The reason, but I think in the end, going back to the point of Jerry and people like Jerry being the crux, even when it comes to book sales, you're having to deal with the people who are buying books. In other words, the consumer is driving this right now. And in the end, we've got to come up with something creative that the consumer is going to go with. That, in the end, is what's going to have to happen, because they're the one. If they don't spend the money, we don't make the money. Right now, they'll go see a concert, but
the thing, just to kind of get to what Jerry and Ron are talking about, the problem we have in radio is that we don't have a feeder source for new listeners. And let me explain to you what that means.
Wow, really?
It's like, think about this.
It's true.
I got a 20-year-old son, my youngest son, and the cell phone has always been in his life. Always. He's never picked up the phone and dialed it with a finger. He never did the touch tone thing. Even the phone in the house was cordless when he was a kid.
Right.
So he doesn't have any recollection to what a telephone was. I mean,
And that long cord that
for
ran
us.
across the kitchen. all
Exactly.
the way to the
Yeah,
living room.
exactly. So think about this. We got people
Mama
who
will hit you with it too if you
Oh, yeah.
cross the room.
we got people that's been driving cars, and they've never been able to go to the gas station and somebody come out and pump the gas and check the oil in the car.
That's right.
So now think about this. In radio, we've got people that have never listened to radio, but they consume music every day. So if you got a station, let's just use for the sake of a conversation here in Atlanta, if you got Kiss 104, which is an adult station, we're playing music for people 35 to 54, 25 to 54. Well, that audience still understands, I like that song, I'm going to go buy it and put it on my shelf. So when we get ready to get into this particular mode, I can pull that CD out and play it. But we got people that never experienced that, let alone a piece of vinyl. So now they don't have a connection to what we're talking about. And so now, in what you're doing with the books, you've got people from this day forward will never have a bookshelf in their house.
No.
Think about that.
So if they want a book, they're going to put it on their iPad or their Kindle or their or whatever they're
Because I buy audiobooks. I mean, that's a good
Exactly.
point. I buy audiobooks.
So
You know,
now
that's
you got
just
to
what
find a way to break through that in order for the introduction process to happen, because you don't have a feeder. It's like, for instance, back in the 70s when I first entered the radio scene, we had a thing where we'd say we'd program from the cradle to the grave. At some point during the week on that radio station, you have a show for the kids, playing the stuff the kids like. You're going to have a show for mama now. You're going to have a show on Sunday playing the gospel. Sunday evening you're playing the jazz. Saturday morning you're playing the blues. Well, that doesn't happen anymore. So now it's a total disconnect. So now if radio is focusing on a station like V103 is focusing on 18 to 36, but the lower end of that demo, 18 to 25, don't connect with radio.
because they've got Pandora, they've got Spotify, they got YouTube.
Exactly.
I mean, you can sit there and go to YouTube all day on YouTube. You know, create your favorites.
But now to go back to Mr. Kilgore here, in terms of exposing himself, he's got the right idea in terms of getting into the grassroots aspect of it, because you have to build a fan base and then have that become viral, just like what they did with Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead back in the day.
Right, 'cause
and the same thing with you with the books. You know, your appearances and that kind of thing, you're promoting your books. And hopefully, with some smart AdWords, whatever you do on the internet, words that would make your book pop up when somebody's searching for something,
Wow.
you know?
Right.
And that's the dynamic of it. But radio probably has, from a profitable standpoint, maybe 3 to 5 years.
Terrestrial radio?
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
Wow, really?
Because
From a profit standpoint, absolutely.
yeah, because I mean, when you think
I didn't
about
know it was
how
that close.
How it's pushing, how, you know, from that streaming and everybody streaming and those type of things, you know, and then I look at, you know, like if we're riding in the car, my brother has on headphones while the radio's on.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So there is a disconnect from the radio, you know, and I have to say, hey man, what are you listening to?
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a total disconnect, and so it's like, well, why they already choosing their own music there, whether it's old school, whether it's hip hop, rap, whatever. And on top of that, even from a different angle, the music is hypnotic. So they get hypnotized to listen to certain artists and certain things, you know, those kinds of things. So people don't understand the spiritual aspect of, you know, frequencies and what's going on,
Yes.
and how the devil is a musician. You know what I mean? So this is his playground anyway.
right,
you know,
right.
so when he's
Speak
able,
it.
But the devil can't create anything.
no,
He's a copycat.
yeah, no, absolutely.
He
The
cannot
God, you know, we
create.
were created to be creators, and
That's
so
right.
when you
We are
tap
creators.
out, or when you cut out the creator, you know
I
what I
got
mean,
you.
and that's going back to the whole digital and using the electronics and the synthesizers and things we were talking about.
Let me ask you a question. I mean, and this, again, looking for, trying to find, because the interesting thing about trying to find a solution or some solutions to what's going on is that, first of all, we got to just catch up. That's why I keep playing the videos, because, I mean, we just got to catch up with what's going on, you know, before we can even address trying to get ahead.
Right.
You know, now, one of the things I wanted to ask you as a musician, I knew when I was growing up, I would go sit in the window there was a band that played in the basement next door, and I would go sit in the window, and they weren't practicing for a gig, they were just jamming. I grew up, you just played.
Yeah.
You know, I have a guy now. We just play.
Yeah.
And you know, I hear music on Facebook. You know, guys are complaining. You know, I mean, I went to see some musicians play, and I stopped doing local stuff back in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when I got with SOS, and I just stopped the whole local thing altogether because all the bands were playing all the same stuff. Now I went to see some musicians. I'm talking about the upper echelon cats play, right? And they were playing the stuff that I was playing 12 years ago. And so I was wondering, is there a disconnect because we don't have that? Because, you know, when you're jamming, there's a creative thing that's going on there.
That's
there's
right.
a vibe. There's a whole nother thing that's going on. And a lot of times that's how the music was created.
Right.
You would get together and just play, and something would come out of that. What's the attitude towards that right
I think it's a combination of a couple of things. I think people have lost the art of being a fan. People would go to concerts and go and see people and go jam, and it didn't matter what the song was called. Here's the song. We just, hey, bass player, give me a lick, and he'd start something, and it's like, okay, all right, drummer, feel, you know. So musicians are not being creative with jam sessions. It's more of,
let's get through the gig.
well, not even get through the gig. It's more of, you know, let me figure out a way to be in the spotlight so I get some attention. You know, so it you know, things have to be about intent. And when your intent is about yourself, then those jam sessions now are they're not important.
I got you.
And they're not really reaching people. And that's the thing about being a musician and understanding your responsibility as an artist, or if you've been given any type of talent, when you use it, your intent matters.
Yes.
I don't think in Judgment Day, he's not going to be asking you about jaywalking. He's not going to be asking you about whether you lied to your mom. He's going to be asking you, what did you do with what I gave you? And did you use it for good intent? Did you use it to change lives? So it doesn't even matter. So when I go to a jam session, it's frustrating because people, as soon as they see me, they're like, yo, let's call Ryan Kilgore up. And these guys are playing
every note known to man.
every note. And I'm like, man, like, you can't have a conversation with a chick like that. Hey, how you doing? You know, it's like, man, it's hello, it's how are you? What is your name? Where are you from?
Oh my goodness,
Dude,
did you have to go there?
In a way, when you mentioned that, the way that I relate to what you just said was a buddy of mine who could mimic any guitarist. He had the gift. He could hear it, he could play it. And his favorite guitarists were speed metal guys. So he's trying to ramp up 120, 150 notes a minute. I mean, just fingers are flying. And I asked him, I said, but why don't you play Santana? And he says he's too slow. And I said, but Santana is talking to you.
That's right. It's
You
a
know,
conversation.
B.B. King
Baby,
is
don't stop.
talking to you.
Phrasing is almost a lost art amongst a lot of people who
is.
play. You know, I mean, it's all about a lot of notes and what you can physically. It's almost like gymnastics versus an art. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I want to play. I pulled something off a website you were on. You know,
tell them what that is.
That's okay. Because the thing is that when you say, okay, terrestrial radio, 3 to 5 years, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play something of Mitch's so that you understand what it is that Mitch does, okay? They'll be able to see us, but they won't be able to hear us, okay? But I want you to, I basically want people to take a listen to, again, what he does, because it's now, based on what you're saying and listening to what y'all saying, I'm like, man, dude, you're the only entertainment on radio right now. Listen to what he does. Check this out.
Mitch Faulkner, Urban AC.
WRKS, New York.
Playing the best variety of old school and today's R&B.
This is 98.7 KISS FM. WRKS, New York.
50 minutes of music every hour. On 98.7 KISS FM.
The best variety of old school and today's R&B.
Another hour of your favorite music begins now. Classic Soul and today's R&B. Classic Soul and today's R&B on WMPZ, Ringo, Chattanooga.
93.7 and 93.3 FM.
Groove 93, a Brewer broadcasting station. Music designed for grown folks in mind. We are the #1 adult choice for Pensacola. Magic 106.1. Coming soon, someone will have a chance to win $9,610. That's $9,610 from the big station. From the big station and AT&T 96.1 Jams.
Just to think.
That was you, man. That's awesome.
Man, your library of sound effects has got to be like.
That's crazy. but
How do you? I mean, but that to me, that was almost like, man, okay, now that's interesting.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You
But-
see, what, you know, I mean,
But to kind of speak to that, it's interesting.